Hey, what's up? I'm Coach Ryan Family from VIPAR. I know right now is an uncertain and tough time for a lot of people, especially those of us who fitness provides a foundation for our lives, kind of a grounding rock, if you will. Gyms are closing, a lot of people don't have equipment at home, and so you may be worried about what you're supposed to do in terms of your training. The purpose of this video is to teach you some principles for how to create your own home workouts. A lot of people are out there posting workouts for you to follow along, or maybe doing follow along videos, and I encourage that. I think it's awesome, I think it's great, but I also want to teach you how to do it yourself. Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. That's the principle here. I want to teach you how to create your own workouts based on your goals when you have limited to no equipment at home. So this is going to be your survival guide, the COVID-19 survival guide for fitness. For those of you that are hard at training. Now, one thing I will point out, it is completely acceptable to take 2 to 4 weeks completely away from fitness, especially if you're the type of person that grinds it hard day in and day out. Those 2 to 4 weeks off might be very, very restorative for you. You can work on stretching and mobility at home. You can practice deep breathing, do some home yoga, and kind of focus on that rest and digest state, since the world we live in now is constantly a fight or flight state. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. Okay, you will not lose all of your progress with just 2 to 4 weeks off from training hard, lifting weights. Okay. However, if that's not an option for you, for some people, the gym is mental health. The gym is therapy. For those of you, I'm going to give you some options for how to incorporate different body weight strategies into your own home program, and then I'm going to leave you to write your own programs. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I will still give you a couple, workouts that you can copy and emulate yourself, but along with the principles. First, we dive into the principles. So let's just dive right in. One of the things that's important to consider when designing your home exercise program is the type of movements that you're doing. Generally, movements should fall in one of 8 categories in some way, shape, or form. And so I want to start making you think about what patterns you're trying to train when you're doing your home exercise program. So typically, you want to train some type of squat pattern, and that's a double leg knee bend, both legs at the same time. You want to train some unilateral work, so a basic lunge pattern, and that can be a bunch of different things. That could be forward lunges, reverse lunges, lateral lunges, walking lunges, Bulgarian split squats with the back leg up would be in that category. Upper body push, so all of your different push-ups, dumbbell pressing variations, handstand push-ups, handstand isometric holds, anything where you're using your upper body to push at an angle or straight on. Upper body pulling, this is your door frame chin-ups, this is your inverted rows with a broomstick, this is banded rows, this is bending over and picking up a toddler repeatedly. I mean, be creative here. You can use odd objects, and toddlers are certainly odd, all right? Hinging, this is a lower body hinge, this is a hip hinge. So bending over, things, a kettlebell swing is a hip hinge. If you don't have a kettlebell, you could use gallons of milk, gallons of water, various deadlifts, glute lifts, and a lot of things in your house may be odd objects. We're not deadlifting a bar, but maybe you can pick up the end of your couch. I had talked to one client the other day, and I was telling her to do sumo couch deadlift, bottom portion, so just lifting from the ground to part way up with the feet wide to work on the glutes, all right? Carry, some type of carrying. Basically, this means locomotion. So you are moving under load. Taking 2 gallons of milk, putting them overhead with your arms locked out overhead, keeping your core tight, and just walking around your house for a little bit, for a couple minutes. One-sided carries, taking a propane tank, a full propane tank in one side, bracing the core on the other side, walking around the house. That would fall in the categories. In that category. Picking up your spouse or your toddler in a front rack Zercher position and walking like that. Tremendous exercise for the core and the low back. Planking patterns. This includes all type of front plank, push-up position planks, side planks, glute bridges, basically isometric training for the torso and the glutes and the hips. And then rotate. So this, I don't mean rotate from the spine necessarily, I just mean something in the rotational plane. So a push-up T, for example, where you push up and then rotate your body out and support yourself on that hand, then rotate back to the ground, push up, rotate out on the other side. That would be an example of a rotational pattern. So when we're putting together your home exercise program, Make sure over the course of a week, you're hitting all of these patterns in some way, shape, or form. One of the things that you can and should modify and switch up with your workouts when you're doing it at home is the contraction speed. This is a variable that's an amazing, amazing asset to have in your toolbox in order to continue to make workouts effective. So essentially there's three parts to any exercise: the eccentric contraction, an isometric contraction, and a concentric contraction. Those are three ways that you can contract a muscle, and all three of them kind of work a little bit differently in terms of how many muscle groups are recruited, the firing frequency, the cross bridging. I don't want to get into all the exercise science, but just know that you can modify three different portions of an exercise. Eccentric is when gravity is doing the work, when you are lowering the weight to the ground. Gravity's not actually doing the work because you have to resist it, but it's when the resistance is moving towards the floor, essentially. So in a squat, the eccentric contraction is when you are going down. That's the quadriceps contracting eccentrically to slow the descent. Isometric is anytime you contract, but there's no change in joint angle. So if I drop to a quarter squat and just hold here, I'm sitting in an isometric contraction. And then finally, concentric, that is when you are lifting the weight or standing up where the load is moving away from gravity. So the standing up portion of a squat is the concentric movement. Now, you can play with all of these contractions when you're trying to make a bodyweight workout more effective. So for most people, regular standard push-up, at least most people that train hard, a regular standard push-up is pretty easy. However, have you ever tried doing a push-up, just one rep, where you take 30 seconds to lower all the way to the floor, and then another 30 seconds to slowly push up towards lockout? Even people that are very, very strong and very, very good at push-ups will often find that to be a challenging. That is the 30-0-30-0 tempo. So in squats, you can do the same thing. Take 30 seconds, set a timer, 30 seconds. You can do this body weight or just a little bit of external load and take 30 seconds all the way down. And then at the bottom, when it's the toughest, you're still going slow and taking 30 seconds to come all the way up. That's one challenging method of squats. Another thing you can look at is inserting an isometric pause in the bottom. So a 2-10-x-0 tempo squat. Tempo, by the way, four-digit nomenclature, originated with Charles Poliquin, at least the four-digit model did. Research it if you don't know of it, if you aren't aware of it. But 2-10-x-0. You're gonna squat down, take 2 seconds to get to the bottom. You're gonna hold at the bottom for a 10 count. Then once the 10 count is up, X, you explode to the top as fast as you can. That's a good way to get more out of the isometric contraction. And you can put that isometric at varying places in the squat, wherever you wanna, whatever angle you wanna train. Elastic 1 1/4. So you go all the way down, a quarter of the way up, and then quickly drop and reverse out of the bottom. Elastic 1 1/4. That's just taking advantage of the elastic response, a fast eccentric in the bottom. That's more appropriate if, let's say, you're an athlete and you're still wanting to train power output during this body weight time. You would do an elastic 1 1/4 into a squat drum. Finally, X, explosive. That's just repeatedly jumping as high as you can. Reset and jumping as high as you can. That would be an explosive variant of a squat. I'm using squat as the example here, but you can use this for all the movement patterns. You can change these things. 3-stop isometric. On a squat, you could stop at the quarter squat position for a 3 count. Go a little lower, stop for a 3 count. Go a little lower, stop for a 3 count. Come up, stop for a 3 count. Come up, stop for a 3 count. So you can put these pauses in both the eccentric and the isometric, or excuse me, in both the eccentric and the concentric portions of the movement on the way down and the way up. It's a lot harder doing it on the way up, just fair warning for you there. So these are just some ways that you can manipulate standard bodyweight exercises by adjusting the different contraction speeds and focusing on the different types of contractions throughout. These are just a couple examples, there's tons. It's too long to go into exquisite detail for a video like this, but hopefully you got some ideas with that. The next thing I want to talk about in terms of a variable that you can manipulate is time. So a lot of times in the gym, people go in, they lift weights, they don't really track their rest period. But by strictly managing the rest period, you can get a really good effect, even with just body weight exercises. It's an important variable to manage, and it gives you a lot of options and flexibility with the program. So the first and foremost thing that you could try is incomplete rest. So maybe you're the boss dog and can do 30 push-ups in a row. All right, now let's see how many sets of 30 push-ups you can do with just 20 seconds rest in between, or 10 seconds rest in between, or maybe even 40 seconds rest in between. You can mess around with these rest intervals to get a different adaptation. Okay, incomplete rest is a great way to build fatigue, which is going to create a further stimulus to your body. So use that tool in the toolbox. Next thing you have is reps for time or rounds for time. This is when you set a specific target for number of repetitions and you try to get it in as fast a time as possible. So it could be push-ups, you could say 100 reps per time. How fast can you get to 100 push-ups? And you take rest as needed, but let's say you do your 100 push-ups in 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Well, now you have a baseline, so the next time you try to do that workout, you have to beat that time, and that's a way to improve. Rounds for time is when you have a series of exercises. So let's say rounds for time, let's say your workout is 20 squats, 20 push-ups, and 20 planks, or 20-second planks for 10 rounds. Well, time how long it takes you to do the 10 rounds, and then try to beat that the next time you do that workout. That's another tool in the toolbox. Next one to look at is time for reps, time for rounds. So similar concept to the last one, but now we're letting time be the dictator. So how many push-ups can you get in 10 minutes? Right, do as many as you can in 10 minutes. And the next time, you do as many as you can in 10 minutes and try to beat that. Try to do more in the same amount of time. This also is good for even an individual set. How many air squats can you do in 30 seconds? Okay, that'll work on your lactic power output if that's one of the goals you're targeting. Also good for muscle hypertrophy is to do time for reps within a 30 to 60 second window. Okay, how many push-ups can you do in 60 seconds? That is a great way to train for hypertrophy even without weights. Okay? EMOM, this stands for every minute on the minute. So you set a running clock, you never stop your stopwatch, and every time a new minute ticks over, you do something. It could be one exercise or it could be a series of exercises, and then you rest the remainder of that minute. So you could do 20 push-ups every minute on the minute for 10 minutes. Okay, so the first couple sets, you may bang out that 20 push-ups in 15 seconds and then you get 45 seconds rest. But as you fatigue, now maybe it takes 35 seconds to get those push-ups and now your rest period gets shorter, so fatigue builds that way. You can also do this for several exercises at once. So 3 squats, 3 push-ups, 3 pull-ups, and 3 sit-ups every minute on the minute. 4 exercises, 3 reps each, but with the transition time, it'll prove to be a workout over time. Okay, this is a fun one, EMOM to death. This involves, it's the same concept, running clock, but now you add reps with each passing minute. So an example of that would be, let's say, 10 squats, 10 push-ups every minute on the minute, but then with each passing minute you add 5 of each. So your second minute, 15 squats, 15 push-ups. Your third minute is 20 squats, 20 push-ups. Your fourth minute is 25 squats, 25 push-ups. You get the idea. And it's over when you take longer than the full minute to complete it, okay? That's a hard one because your rest diminishes the more tired you get. So it's a good way to build up metabolites fast. Another way to use time to your advantage is your isometric hold duration, okay? Doing lunges, a lunge isometric hold or a split isometric hold for 30 seconds per leg for 10 sets is a great way to stimulate the body. Stimulate the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads, all in that fixed position. You could also do accumulated isometric duration. So instead of doing 10 sets of 30 seconds each, you could just over the course of the workout accumulate 5 total minutes each leg of lunge isometric holds. So you may start at 90 seconds a leg, and then as you fatigue, it gets a little bit less and less. Just keep track of your total time and see how many minutes you accumulate, okay? Again, I'm not covering every possible scenario or every possible way to manage time. I'm just giving you some options for your own program building. One of the keys though of all this, and this is one of the most critical things I can say here, is make sure that what you do is challenging and progressive. So the first time you try a workout, you may write something up and it may not be very hard. That's okay, just make it harder the next time. Once it's challenging, then now you have to progress on it. So that's why I don't like just doing random workouts at will. I like to do something, plan it out, and then make sure you get better at it. That's what forces the body to adapt. That's what forces the continual change in stimulus. Yes, any exercise is better than none, and random exercise is better than doing nothing, for sure, 100%. However, if you're goal driven, and maybe this lapse in training is taking you out of a specific training period for a specific goal, you better pick something to do that is going to continue to drive you toward that goal, okay? So if you're a 200-meter sprinter, for example, and let's say the track's closed down, you can't lift weights, doing something like as many squat jumps as possible in 30 seconds or 45 seconds would be a great way to still stimulate power output and lactic capacity within that time frame, okay? Just to give you an example. Challenging and progressive, those are two things that this should be. So this covers rest periods and how you can use time to your advantage during this time where you're working out at home. By far and away, the people that are getting screwed the most with the gym shutdowns are maximal strength athletes. You can train for metabolic power and capacity at home with body weight very easily with different metabolic circuits, with sprinting outside, with running. You can do cardio outside or at home pretty easily. Even hypertrophy you can do pretty easily with just using a lot of pump up schemes, different rep schemes, going for high volume, high reps, incomplete recovery. Maximal strength, however, is tough because you need a lot of times external load to generate maximal tension. Just plain and simple, for a strong person, body weight push-ups and body weight air squats and things of that nature are not going to stimulate the maximal strength capacity of the body as much as external load does. So maximal strength athletes and strong people in general are getting hit the hardest with the gym closed down. While this doesn't completely solve the problem, one thing that can help alleviate the problem a little bit is maximal isometrics. So with maximal isometrics, you simply push against an immovable object as hard as you can. And what that does, it's going to continue to train your brain and nervous system to at least maintain strength. You may gain a little bit of strength in those positions, but mostly you're looking to maintain strength with a maximal muscular contraction and maximal firing rate. Now, isometrics have about a 15-degree carryover, plus or minus, in terms of joint angle. So for example, if you're trying to work, and just an example of an isometric is getting against an immovable object. If I'm trying to train let's say I'm a world-class bench presser who no longer has a bench and a bar, I can train pushing maximally, contracting the pec, shoulders, and tricep maximally against something that isn't going to move. 6 to 10 seconds per contraction is the gold standard, all right? As hard as you possibly can. Now, you can start gently and ramp up the tension, or you can just drive right in like a powerful punch. I recommend, if you're prone to injury, starting gently and ramping up, however, okay? So, anyway, moving from my previous post, or my previous point, if I train and I only push at this angle, I'm gonna get stronger from here to here, basically a 15-degree improvement on either side of where the body is. So if I wanna work bench press off the chest, I need to get closer to where my hand is closer to my chest and work on the isometric contraction here. You can also do it for things like biceps, getting under a table, or a countertop, even better, like a heavy stone granite countertop, or something that doesn't move, a workbench, and isometric contractions upward with the biceps. You can do downward with the triceps, skull crusher isometric. You can lean into something and do a single leg, like a lunge or a bilateral squat isometric against the wall. You've got options. But again, 6 to 10 seconds, maximal contraction per rep, and then working at least 3 different joint angles is going to be the recipe. The other thing you can do for maximal strength, and it doesn't quite work the same patterns, but you can make the movements more difficult by manipulating your body position. So if push-ups are easy, you can go to feet elevated push-ups. If that's still easy, you can work toward one-handed push-ups. So the way to do that, let's say I'm going to work towards my right hand. I would start right hand on the ground, left hand on a medicine ball, and I would do push-ups, and then I could slowly work this arm out to where there's less of my body weight on the right arm, more on the left arm, and then I would get work there until I can eventually do it just one-handed push-ups, building up to those. For legs, single leg pistol squats, just a freestanding single leg squat all the way down and all the way up. If you're not strong enough to do it on your own, you can hold on to a door frame, or you can lower down under control and then use a door frame to help pull you standing back up until you can do reps on your own. Those are just a couple examples. You got to be creative and use your imagination. But isometrics and manipulating body position are going to be good ways for the strength athlete to continue to make strength gains, or at the very least to maintain what they've got during this time with no gym. Now, as I said, I'm not just going to leave you hanging on the workouts. I want you to get better at creating your own workouts. It's a skill you may have to practice, but I'm also going to include some sample workouts for you to show you how I put these techniques together. Keep in mind, these workouts are not necessarily targeted for any specific individual. I had to kind of make these up with an imaginary person in my head, so they may be too easy for your current skill level, or they may be too hard for your current skill level. But hopefully with the information I presented to you in the video, you'll be able to adjust them accordingly for your individual fitness level. So let's dive in. The first workout I've got queued up here is a total body metabolic workout. So we're basically looking to get a big oxygen jet. We're going to use big compound movements to try to get you out of breath and burning it up a little bit. So the first series is an EMOM 10. So every minute on the minute for 10 minutes. You're going to do A1 through A3. So as soon as that new minute ticks over, you're going to do prisoner squat jumps for 10 reps. That's with your hands clasped behind your head, jumping as high as you can. Clap push-ups, getting up as high as you can in the air for 10 reps. And then door frame pull-ups for 5 reps. The remainder of the minute after you complete that is going to be your rest. And then when the new minute ticks over, you start again going for 10 full rounds. Then we move into an AMRAP 10, or as many rounds as possible for 10. You're going to do exercises B1 through B4 in circuit format, doing as many rounds as you can in 10 minutes, resting as needed, but trying to keep rest to a minimum. If you can go continuous and still be powerful, then do it continuously. You got lateral lunge for 10 reps each leg, standing long jump for 10 reps. For that, you're going to be doing it inside, so it's going to be a single response jump. So jump as far as you can, and then turn around and jump back. Then mountain climbers down on all fours, jumping the legs back and forth for 10 reps each leg. And then finally a water bottle 2-arm cobra for 20 reps. This B4 exercise could be looked at as kind of your recovery from the first 3, and it's also a good upper back exercise to help with your posture and rotator cuff and things like that. So it's just like a muscle snatch. Basically, you're snatching the water bottles up with 2 arms. And that's it for the first workout. Do this properly and with intent, and trying to go for maximum output, and you will create a metabolic stimulus to elevate your metabolic rate for a window of time after you've completed the session. This next workout is a sample workout I've created for chest hypertrophy and strength. So all the bros out there, I'm talking to you guys, the ones that do bench press every Monday. Look, I love you guys. I got deep love for you guys in my heart, so I'm hooking you up here. Okay, here's a chest hypertrophy and strength workout. Start the workout with 3-position isometric press against the door frame. So we're pushing against an immobile object, and we're using maximal force. We're contracting as hard as we can. You want to do this at 3 positions. One with your hands close to your chest, the next one at mid-range, and then the third position is just shy of lockout. You're going to do 3 sets for each arm in each position. And one set consists of a 6-second maximal isometric for that arm. Okay? So you're essentially doing 9 sets per arm. And that is going to activate your high threshold muscle fibers. It's going to train your central nervous system and really help you maintain the gains that you are not otherwise getting from lifting actual weights. We're just stimulating strength at varying joint angles. The next one, great for hypertrophy, feet elevated push-ups. Slightly more challenging than a regular flat push-up. You can elevate your feet as high as you want to make it challenging. You're going to do 3 sets of as many reps as you can do in 45 seconds. So you want to crank these out fast. You're going down fast and up fast. Make sure you're still going through a full range of motion. Don't cut these short, but really rep it out and try to get a high number in your 45-second window. This should have full recovery between sets. You don't want to short yourself on the recovery here, at least not at this point in the workout. When we're fresh, we want to do full recovery to allow for optimal maximum output. After that, you're going to do super slow push-ups with your hands and feet on the floor. You're only going to do 3 sets of 1 rep each. 1 rep, no big deal, right? Here's the kicker.
You're going to take 30 seconds to lower your body down and then 30 seconds to push yourself up. And it should be even time spent throughout the entire range of motion. So don't just hang out at the top and for 25 seconds and then dive bomb down the last 5 seconds. It should be nice and smooth and even the entire 30-second duration. After you do those, you're going to do deep stretched pause push-ups. Exercise science research shows that tension in a stretch position is important for eliciting muscle damage and remodeling, so creating new muscle fibers and new growth. So that's why we're going to do these in a deep stretch position. You're going to put your hands on some books, something to give you somewhere for your chest to go. You can also use push-up handles if you have those. You can use medicine balls, soccer balls, anything to get your hands up and give your chest somewhere to go so that your face isn't on the ground. You're going to go down and you're going to hold the deep stretch pause position for 5 seconds on each repetition. Really get as low as you can. Really keep your upper back tight and feel your chest fibers stretching out under contraction. You do 3 sets of 10 to 15 there. If that's easy for you, you could do 6 sets of 10 to 15. You could do 3 sets of 20 to 30. But by this point in the workout, and with the 5-second pause on each rep, this should still be enough to scorch you. And last but not least, we're going to do some stretch position isometric door frame chest flies. So you're going to get in a door frame, get your arms out to the side, take your arms into a stretch position for the pec, and then you're going to do 6 sets with a 10-second maximal contraction. You can do this one arm at a time if you're large, or if you fit with both arms in the door frame, you can do this 2 arms at the same time. It really doesn't matter here. This is one I would recommend instead of going from 0 to maximal contraction right away. I would suggest ramping up. So starting with a gentle contraction and gradually ramping up. Because it is in the stretch position, it's a little more of a precarious position for the shoulder. So we still want to be cautious with that. And that's the workout. That will be enough to hopefully stimulate some new progress in hypertrophy and strength, but at the very, very least, at the very bare minimum, it will help you to maintain what you've already trained hard for. This one is good for leg power and strength. So for your explosive strength athletes, your track and field athletes, your throwers, this is a good leg workout that you can incorporate to help continue to boost your power output and maintain the strength that you've built. So starting off the workout with a lunge scissor jump. For this, you're going to start in the lunge position. You're going to jump as high as you possibly can. You're going to switch legs in midair so that the other leg that you didn't jump off of is now forward. And then immediately upon landing, you're going to rebound back up into the air as high as you can. You're going to do 3 reps each leg, trying to be really elastic and springy. This should be done with full recovery. You're not meaning to turn this into a high heart rate workout, so let your heart rate come down in between sets. Next is single response squat jump. You're simply going to squat down and jump as high as you can, and then reset upon landing. 3 sets of 5 there. After that, we're going to do an elastic 1 1/4 squat jump. So for that, as demonstrated in the video, you're going to squat all the way down, come 1/4 of the way up, and then drop and rebound and bounce out of the bottom for 5 reps. So once you jump in the air and land, reset and go into the next rep. This really helps to build power and explosiveness from a deeper knee position than a standard jump. Then we move on to a pistol squat. Pistol squat is just a freestanding single leg squat with the off leg extended straight out in front of you. Depending on where you are in your ability level, you may need varying levels of assistance. So you could stand next to a door frame and assist yourself on the way down on the eccentric and standing up. You could maybe do the eccentric freestanding by yourself and then help yourself with the door frame on an assisted concentric. You may be able to do this with no assistance whatsoever, just your body weight. And if you do more than 5 reps with just your body weight, you can hold additional load. Now, what you can hold for additional load, be creative. Fill a suitcase with as much heavy stuff as you can and hold the suitcase. Hold heavy 5-gallon water drums, 10-gallon water drums. Anything you can think of that you can hold and provide a challenge. Do 3 sets of 5 each. The key with this, if you want it to stimulate strength, it should be a load that is challenging for 5 reps each leg. In other words, you probably couldn't do many more than 5 reps, even if you had a gun to your head. It should be very, very challenging, whichever method you use for the pistol squat. Then our next series, E1 and E2, is a superset. There's a lunge iso hold. You're going to get in a deep stretch position and hold for 30 seconds each leg in that stretch position, actively squeezing the glute of the front leg really hard and squeezing the quadriceps and the hamstrings hard. And then E2 is a hip bridge hamstring walkout. You're going to lay on your back with bent knees and your heels up by your butt. You're going to squeeze up into a glute bridge, and then keeping that straight line from knee through the hip into the shoulder, you're going to walk your feet out to really put tension on your hamstrings, and then walk back in 30 seconds each leg. Sorry, that shouldn't say 30 seconds each leg. That should be 30 seconds total for the hamstring walkouts. And you're going to do 3 rounds of E1 and E2 and pack it in for the workout. This is the last workout I'm going to show you for today. Hopefully you can get the right idea and get some ideas for your programming. But this is a total body metabolic workout. On this one, you're going to do 10 rounds for time of A1 through A4. That's a push-up T, 1-arm farmer's carry. For that, you can use a suitcase loaded with as much heavy stuff as you can find. Jugs of water, a child, doesn't matter. 60 seconds each there. Push-up plank knee to elbow. That's a core exercise. You want to try to keep your hips and pelvis level while you're bringing your knee up to the elbow. And then walking lunge 10 each. You're going to do 10 rounds of all those exercises and then time how long it takes you. And then the next time when you repeat this workout, you're going to try to beat that time. Moving on in the series, the 100 total rep goal for B1, B2, and B3. You're simply going to take those to failure and just keep track of your total reps as you go through. And you stop when you get to 100 reps. An exercise will drop out of the rotation once you hit 100 of those. Then you're going to finish off with EMOM to death, so a weighted swing of some type. If you have a kettlebell, use a kettlebell. You could use a dumbbell. You could use a loaded propane tank, a water jug. Just find an object that you can swing with a kettlebell swing technique between your legs. And then a Zercher squat. That's going to be holding the load in front of you in the crooks of your elbows. I like a kid for this one, or a spouse. That makes it fun, and you can involve your family if you can, or a pet. And for this one, the EMOM to death, you are going to start with 3 reps of each, and with every passing minute, you're going to add another 3 reps to each. So you start with 3 swings, 3 squats, then 6 swings, 6 squats, then 9, 9, 12, 12, and you're going to keep going until you can no longer finish all of your repetitions within that minute. Okay, and it sounds easy on paper, but once you get into the nitty-gritty of it, I think you'll find it's quite the challenge, because it is a race against the clock once you get to those higher rep numbers. Thank you so much for following along and for checking out the sample workouts I put at the end. Again, it's not practical for me to make a workout specific to every individual, but hopefully you got to see some of the guiding principles of designing your own workout. If you have any questions or comments or anything, hit me up in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.